Right guys, so today we'll be using the smart motorway. So above you can see the speed limit is 60 miles an hour. That's variable. So we're going to remain in this lane and continue following the road ahead. We've set the smart cruise control at 60 miles per hour. We're now following the road ahead and we are going to go down towards the motorway, down the M1 South. So we're travelling at 60 and we're looking ahead of us and we can see that small car. We can see the small car that's actually travelling a lot slower than us. So we'll be gaining on that car. How do we know that we're gaining on that car? That car is getting bigger and bigger. So it's getting bigger in our eyesight. That means we're approaching the car faster. So the smart cruise control, what it will do, it will give us a sufficient gap and keep us behind him. However, if we want to move away and make progress, what we would need to do is change lanes. However, currently we're travelling at a reasonable pace and it's very busy, so moving out of this lane really wouldn't make sense. Now if you look ahead, the speed limit has dropped to 50. So what we need to do now is drop the speed to 50. Now on my cruise control on my car, it's not variable. So it's not the cruise control V3, it's the V2, which means manually you need to adjust the speed. Now when we look at the sat nav is now showing us that the speed limit is actually 70. I'll show you that now. So that's showing you 70. However, the speed limit is, as you've seen, is less, it's 50. Now the speed limit is going to go back into 60. So what we need to do is make a slight adjustment. Now what we need to do now is we need to move out of this lane if we are going to follow the signs for Wakefield and London. So what we do now is we leave this lane. The reason for that is it's now becoming the slip road for Leeds. So we move out when it's safe, remain in this lane. So we now remain in lane 1 and we increase our speed because we're going quite slow. So we pick up pace and travel at an appropriate speed. Now what we've got a lorry on our side, and what we want to ideally do is let the lorry come in and overtake the lorry. So the highway code tells us to let the lorry come in if he's overtaking, and he is overtaking the vehicles in his lane. So what we do, we flash him a few times to get his attention, and now he should signal left in a few moments and come into our lane. He'll do that when he can clearly see that there's a gap. Unless he's going to overtake the other lorry, which is pretty silly of him. If they've both got a maximum speed of 60, it's going to be silly. But it is what it is. We're not the lorry driver, we're not going to comment. So what we want to do now is follow the road ahead, and we need to make sure that we're travelling at an appropriate speed. Now we can see 2 lorries in the lane on the left, and we can see a vehicle in front of him. So what we now do is we look ahead and we can see the speed limit is still 60. It also tells us that the lane on the left, as in the hard shoulder, is not the smart motorway hard shoulder anymore. And while we're forward planning, we have a quick glance to our right, look at the opposite traffic, and we can see this lorry on our left that keeps braking. That means he wants to overtake the Greenwood Stock Boxes lorry. Now this foreign lorry ahead of us that has 2 registration numbers. It has ON91BJ and DG15CCD. Now the reason why he has 2 registration numbers, while he's in the UK, he's got a UK number. When he goes abroad, he will then use the foreign number plate on his vehicle. Although you can't see it, but the vehicle, the lorry that was overtaking, the one that was continuously braking, is now overtaking the vehicle. So while we look ahead on the smart motorway, we can see ahead of us that the smart motorway, the left lane is not in operation. The highway patrolman is talking to somebody that's broke down, and the speed limit now is 70 miles an hour, which is the national speed limit for the motorway. So we're now going to make progress and overtake this orange vehicle, this orange lorry. While we're doing that, we have a quick glance at our sat nav and we've got 4 miles before we come off. So there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time, and we don't need to worry yet. But what we will do, we'll come into the centre lane when conditions allow. So once we overtake this blue coloured YA06 number plate car, we'll then move into the lane on the left. But we will make sure that we can see the vehicle in our rear view mirror before we come into the lane, the centre lane. We make sure nobody from lane 1 is coming into our lane 2. Now we can see everybody slowing down. That means the lanes become narrow. It's also becoming a busier time. So we've still got 3.3 miles before we go down towards the M1. So we continue following the road ahead. We're on the correct road. We're in the correct lane. So now we're thinking, look, we've got a lorry in front of us and we've got 3 miles. So we will need to overtake the lorry. So we know we've got good time, so we're going to overtake the lorry. Now that the lorry's moved back into his lane, we do not need to overtake the lorry. So we'll continue in this lane and go back up to 70 miles an hour. Then once it's safe, we'll move back into the lane on the left, because the highway code tells us to keep left. So we're looking in our mirrors, it looks safe. And we'll do a little bit of silent driving, let the car drive itself, and you and I will enjoy the scenery. So we're currently on the M62 and we're heading towards the M1 South.
In 2 miles, take the exit towards Wakefield in the south.
Now the vehicle on our left, the red car, he wants to come into our lane, and we are now going to move into the lane on the left. So we're now in the correct lane. So if you look ahead of us, the overhead gantry, we're at junction number 29. We're heading towards the A1 M1 link, and we want the M1 South. So we'll now look more in our right and left door mirror for anyone coming into the road that we're in at the moment. Now we know the speed limit on this road is 70 currently. However, the lorry ahead of us, his maximum speed is 60. So we need to make sure if anyone's going to get it wrong, this is where it goes wrong for them. The reason for that is the second time the sat-nav speaks, which will be about now, that's when people panic and push their car into their lane. So if this Discovery on our right, this Jeep, wants to push into our lane, this would be the time. So this is where you look into your mirrors more often. So we have an option of using lane 1 on lane 2 when we get to the roundabout.
Lane to take the exit towards Wakefield.
So we're going to look at which lane has less traffic, and we're going to use that. So we're going to use lane 2. So we'll speed up now, and we'll use the lane on the right.
Roundabout, take the third exit to merge onto the M1 towards the south.
Now both these lanes turn right. Both of them go down towards the M1. So we're going to remain in this lane and follow the roundabout round. Now because both lanes go into the same direction, either when we come off the roundabout they will merge, or we will stay in our respective lanes. Now because we're in lane 2, we're in the lane on the right that turns right, we need to come off in lane 2 of the roundabout, as in the direction that we're going into. So if we're going towards London, we mustn't come off in lane 1, we must come off in lane 2. And the reason for that is we are in lane 2 at the roundabout. So we'll increase our speed. We'll continue following the road round. and will remain in lane 2. It's more than likely where this Discover Ocado van, a lorry, is also going. So this is our exit that we're approaching now. So we signal left, we speed up, and we come off in lane 2. We stay behind the black BMW, grey BMW. We now increase our speed. We now signal right, and we can see the sign on our right telling us that we are going to merge with the big lorry. So we look to our left, and if there's a vehicle alongside us, we either increase or decrease our speed. We can now cancel our signal, and we do not need to merge with the lane on the right because we have our own lane at the moment. So we do not need to worry about the lane on the right, we just need to drive normally. Now we can see this Mini on our right wanting to come into our lane, and also the lane on the left comes into our lane here. So you'd look in your mirror and there was a vehicle behind us coming into our lane. So we now build up speed, drive normally. So we pick up speed, do a lane change if we want to. We're now on the M1 and we'll be here forever and a day for as long as we need to. Thank you for watching, guys, and if you need any further help, get in touch.